Oh, yeah. Gonna be in a movie, Ray?
Huh?
Gonna be in a movie?
Do I want to be in a movie? Really, I've had no aspirations in the past.
No. What's the meaning of life?
The meaning of life?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The essence of life is struggle.
It's the essence of life is struggle.
Yeah.
What's the point of it all?
It's pointless. I think we're just put here and we just perpetuate the species. It's amazing to think of life, what constitutes life. Deep philosophical consideration, And how does life start, and we know how it ends, but how does life begin? They've been doing research. Well, there's a type of disease that are caused by what they call prions, and they're not cells, but they're actually protein particles that have the capability of reproducing themselves, and they're related to like mad cow disease and things like that, and there's no real good treatment for them, and they're refractory to a lot of anti-metabolic things, they just defy treatment because they don't have any cells. It's just a mass of protein material, no cells, no nucleus or anything like that. And yet they have the capability of reproducing themselves. And the normal processes in our body that give us resistance to a lot of diseases don't function in the case of these because it's an entirely new ball game, And I think it makes you wonder, when things like this exist, what's the critical thing about life that, we usually think of life as being a cell that reproduces itself. That's the ordinary consideration as far as our bodies and the normal birth and growth process is concerned. But these defy that, and yet they have the capability of reproduction, which is a basic consideration in living organisms. And I think it makes you wonder, what is it that gives them this capability? It's something relating to the very essence of life, and what is it? It's puzzling, Not for two. You shouldn't puzzle about it too long because you may go out on a tangent path that isn't too good. But
it's really interesting. Never heard of that before.
The what?
Never heard of that before.
Yeah. Well, these are relatively new descriptions. I don't know how long ago they were discovered, but they're called prion, P-R-I-O-N, and it's a rather unusual aspect of life or living.
Where did you read about that?
Oh God, Brad, I don't know. I read so many diverse things I lose track. I used to be able to read things. Now I have trouble trying to remember what I'm reading. used to have a lot clearer memory. Now I probably sometimes start talking and I lose sight of what I'm saying. Kind of sad, really, but
Doesn't seem bad. I mean, you don't seem like you go off on tangents or anything. It's just,
oh no, I'm
when did you notice that?
changes like this.
Yeah.
Probably about 2 years ago, I guess. I don't know. It comes on very gradually, you know. Might be in time I may go off on a tangent, I don't know. But I think reading and probably reading, and I've got a bunch of courses that I go through every once in a while, and I think they kind of help keep you on the right track, you know. Although sometimes I have trouble. I know I've got a course in astronomy that's rather extensive, and I know just the other day I was there's a concept, the expanse of the universe is so tremendous that, and when they try to measure it, you know, it's measured oftentimes in light years, and light travels at 186,000 miles per second, and a light year is the distance that light at 186,000 miles a second travels, which is an enormous number. Mm. And it is so great that they tried to develop a system where they wouldn't have to resort to these in tremendously large quantities, and they've developed a concept known as a parsec, P-A-R-S-E-C, and that is a distance that light travels in 2.5 years, and instead of saying light travels, you know, so much per year, they say it travels so many parsecs in a certain period of time, in a year or whatever, you know. And that means it travels 2.5 times as the distance that the light would travel in 1 year at 186,000 miles a second, and it gives them a better concept of the distance in the universe, which is fantastically great, you know. And it keeps increasing. The farther the universe is expanding, and from what we can, particularly since the Hubble scope went up, Hubble noticed this, or actually he didn't. He had two women working for him, and they were the ones that noted that there was an expanse in the universe, but Hubble got the credit because they worked for him and he publicized it. But I think, well, it's sort of like we were talking about the 3D copier, you know,
3D printer.
The technology relative to all these considerations is just in the past 50 to 75 years has expanded and increased so effectively that, you know, if you were living 100 years ago and suddenly woke up, you'd have difficulty comprehending all these things that happened. You know, you'd wonder where in the hell you were. But I think it's just amazing the advances that have been made, and theoretically will be made unless, you know, of course, as far as we know, a lot could happen. We could be struck by a satellite of good size that might disrupt our living tremendously. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. You can't worry about things like that until they happen, and then you don't have to worry about them.